Hello and welcome to Hoop Theory. My name is Logan Wortman and I've got a little bit of a different video for you guys today. I've been uploading nothing but Poeltl videos the past few weeks, but today I'm going to do a little bracket thing. I'm going to fill out a bracket for my playoff predictions, I suppose. I just made a little bracket on Google Sheets, but before I do that, since I haven't done the Poeltl today, or the past couple days I think, I haven't recorded those, so why don't we just do that? Let's start this video off with a game of Poeltl. But yeah, let's do this quick. I'm going to start off with Jason Tatum. I got caps lock on. Jason Tatum. All right, so this guy's in the East. He's probably a forward, being that he's right on 6'8". He is at least 27 years old, and he is at least jersey number 3. Not in the Atlantic Division, and has never played for Boston. Okay, so let's think really quickly. This is going to be a 6'8" forward in the let's go Southeast Division, maybe a little bit older. Let's think of an older forward. Man, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head for some reason. 6'8". Let's just go Markieff Morris. He's on the Heat. Okay, so I got the team right. Wow. Oh, he's listed at 6'9", I guess. Somebody who's listed at 6'8" on the Heat. Okay. Jersey number is at least 11, and he's old. This person's listed at 6'8" on the Heat, and he's old. Oh, Udonis Haslem. All right. I remember from a few days ago or whenever that was, when I had Victor Oladipo and I was going through every single Heat player in my head when I was editing that video, I noticed that I was forgetting about Udonis Haslem because he's always there. So 41 years old. I think he is the oldest player active in the NBA. Pretty sure at least. So yeah, great way to get us started. Got it in 3. So yeah, let's get into the bracket. I'm just going to make some predictions, even though this year I feel like it's going to be really hard to make any predictions, but I'm just going to do it. I'm including the play-in tournament in this as well. So yeah, I'm just going to go through it. Let's start in maybe the West. Yeah, let's go West. So let's go with the 7-8 game, see who makes it in with the 7 seed. So it's the Timberwolves at the 7 seed versus the LA Clippers at the 8. And the Clippers just got back Paul George. And so that's kind of like the X factor, the little thing that I don't know, it's making this really interesting. I kind of like the Clippers, to be honest, and I really like Ty Lue in the postseason as a coach. But it's hard to predict these with it being just a one-game scenario. But I'm going the Clippers, to be honest, in this one. Wouldn't be surprised either way. I feel like I'm going to have to say that on all these. Yeah, so that they get the 7 seed there. And so that would mean Minnesota is over here in the next play-in game, and they have to play the winner of New Orleans versus San Antonio. And see, this is another one. I'm just going to go with, I would like San Antonio to win just because I think the playoffs are better with the Spurs and with Popovich, That'd be fun. I also don't know, because they've had a lot of guys out. Like DeJounte Murray's been out. I think Keldon Johnson missed one of the games recently. I don't know if they have everybody healthy or not, to be quite honest with you. I know New Orleans obviously isn't completely healthy because Zion, but that's a given. But I'm just going to go with what I think is most likely, and that's the Pelicans. So I'm going to put the Pelicans into the next game, and I'm going to take Minnesota. I just said Minnesota like a Minnesotan right there, unintentionally. But yeah, I'm going to take the T-Wolves out of there and bring them in as the 8 spot in the West. All right, so let's do the play-in over here in the East now, starting with the 7-8 game. I think pretty obviously, I feel like the most likely scenario here is Brooklyn playing Boston. That would be my prediction. Obviously with KD, Kyrie. Well, this is a home game. Is Kyrie, I feel like I heard someone talking about it recently as if Kyrie could play in like home games now. Like that's the way it sounded from what the person was saying. But I haven't heard any news about that, I guess. But I'm not super in the loop all the time, to be quite honest. So I'm not completely sure. And I'm not going to look it up either because I just want to record this. But yeah, regardless, with KD, and I feel like there's a good enough squad there in Brooklyn, and Cleveland has been sliding a lot in the second half of the season, missing a bunch of guys. People have kind of figured out that offense as well, especially with Jarrett Allen out. As long as you just kind of key in on Garland, focus all defensive pressure there, there's really nothing else that can hurt them. for the most part consistently. So, and they've just had a lot of injuries with their backcourt as well, like in the off their bench and stuff with Rubio and then Rondo. So yeah, I'm going to take Brooklyn out of that game, put him in there as a 7. And so then Cleveland moves over to this game. Hawks versus Hornets. I'm going to take the Hawks. I think that's the most likely thing. They just have more going on for them. They have a higher ceiling, I think, obviously with Trae Young in the squad there. So, and that is also the reason why I'm going to take Atlanta in the second game as well, which is just fun. It's fun when, one of the 9-10 teams slide in here. I think it happened last year in the West with Memphis, pretty sure. Because it was 7-8 Lakers versus Golden State. And then Golden State lost and had to face Memphis because Memphis beat San Antonio in the 9-10. And then Memphis beat Golden State in that second game. So I think it's pretty fun to have at least one of those happen. So yeah, let's move on to the first round in the West, starting with the 1-8. Obviously, I'm going to take the Suns in this one. I think Minnesota can take a game or two, though. I'm going to put the, series totals here as well for another little guess game. But I don't know if I should put one or two. I'm just gonna go with one, just because I feel like I'm gonna have a lot of 6-game series predicted. So I'm gonna have some 5s. So yeah, I'm gonna do 4-1. But honestly, I think Minnesota really could put up a fight, in this series with Karl Towns and Anthony Edwards playing out of their minds. And Chris Finch is his first time as a playoff head coach. I think he has what it takes to make some noise. All right, so moving on to, I guess we'll do the 2-7 next. Honestly, this is going to be a really fun series if this happens because, adding Paul George to this, the Clippers team is just a little bit more spicy, I guess. And Ty Lue as a coach, I think, is really proven himself in the playoffs, especially with this Clippers team. But I also really do like Taylor Jenkins as a coach in Memphis. But I feel like Memphis isn't a very strong 2 seed, in my humble opinion, as far as postseason success goes. They could very well prove me wrong there, but I don't know how effective they'll be when the game slows down. It's more half-court heavy offense. The pace is lowered. Stuff like that. Teams that thrive more in the open court during the regular season tend to, not perform quite as well in the playoffs. So, but I'm gonna take Memphis. But I think this is gonna be either probably 6 or 7 game series. I'm gonna go 6 though. Yeah, I forgot to move Phoenix on to the next round, and then I'll move Memphis on to the next as well. Should I keep their seeds? Yeah, I'll keep their seeds. I have to move them over though. All right. So next would be Golden State, Denver. I absolutely love that this is how this turned out. Denver getting the 6th seed versus Golden State at the 3 because, number one, I would rather play Golden State first round than Dallas as a Denver fan. And also, on top of that, I am happy we're in the 3-6 instead of the 4-5 because I like the fact that we're on Memphis' side of the bracket instead of Phoenix. So we'll face Memphis second round, if we make it through the first round against Golden State. Can't jump ahead that quickly. But I will take the Nuggets in this series. Probably either 6 or 7 because every Denver series has to go 6 or 7 except for the one against Phoenix last year. But I'm just gonna go 6 just because I don't know. I feel like I tend to pick a 7-game series more often than I should, so I'm just gonna go 6 more often, I guess, as a kind of course correction. All right, so I got Denver moving on to the second round to face Memphis. All right, and so in the 4-5, I'm gonna take. Oh man, this will be a fun series for sure, especially being able to see Luka and the Mavs face somebody other than the Clippers in the playoffs for once, because that's actually never happened before. This is going to be Luka's 3rd time in the playoffs out of his 4 seasons, and both of the other 2 years they had to face the Clippers in the first round with Kawhi and Paul George. So this is gonna be fun to see. I'm gonna take Dallas in. I'm gonna say 7 games to be honest. I really I know Utah's not. I'm not gonna take a 7. I'm gonna go 6. I'm picking a lot of 6s, but I'm gonna go 6. I do feel like Utah is gonna surprise some people because I feel like people are way down on them this year going into the playoffs. So I think they're going to be a little bit better than, I guess, what the consensus is on them. But I don't know about 7 games against the Mavs. No, I am going to go 7. I'm going to go 7 on this one. Final decision. I think that'll be a good series. All right, so now moving on to the first round over in the Eastern Conference. We're going to go with the 1-8 matchup first. And I'm going to take the Heat coming out of this one. And 5 or 6 probably. Yeah, I'm going to go 5. I'm going to take Miami, put them there. This series is going to be very interesting. Boston without Robert Williams, and Brooklyn has the best player in the series in KD, so it'll be interesting to see, I guess. But I am gonna lean Boston, and I don't think this series is gonna go 7. But if you ask me how confident I am, in Boston winning, I would say 4 versus 3. You get what I mean? I feel like I could easily see Boston winning this series with not a whole lot of trouble. trouble, like not going to a whole 7 games. But I could also see Brooklyn winning this series. So I don't know if that made sense at all. But I'm just going to go 6. No, I'm going to go 7. I'll go 7 with that one. All right, so Milwaukee, Chicago. This is I feel like if there's going to be a sweep in the first round in either conference, this is, I feel like, the number one candidate for that, in my opinion. Just because Chicago has been so bad lately. Like, they were 26-10 at one point in the season. That was when they were the first seed in the East. And since then, they've been 19-26. And a big part of that is losing those point of attack defenders in Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso for big stretches of the season. And Lonzo Ball is still out. Alex Caruso, I think, will be back for the playoffs, but he made a return already, but last I saw he was out again for something. I don't know if it was just a one-off game thing, but yeah, their defense is just going to be really weak, to be honest, without those guys out there, and it's going to be hard to really compete with the rest of these guys, the rest of these teams in the East. So I'll give them a game. I feel like that is probably the most likely. I like that in the first round. I feel like there's not going to be any sweeps. There could be, but I just don't feel like there will be, I guess, just by looking at it. So I'm gonna give Chicago a game in this one. But yeah, I'm gonna move Boston and Milwaukee onto the next round, which is gonna be a doozy. And Philly, Toronto, I'm gonna take Philly, but it's gonna be a good series. I feel like either one could win. Philly has not played well against Toronto in the regular season, and Matisse Thybulle is unvaccinated, so he can't play in Canada. So there will be at max 3 of the games while they're in Toronto that they'll be without Thybulle. And yeah, James Harden hasn't been super consistent with Philly so far. And Doc Rivers is very known for his flameouts in the playoffs. And if you're comparing these two teams, like, Toronto wins by a mile in terms of coaching. But that is also one of the main reasons they're in this position to begin with, So Nick Nurse, I think, is by far the better coach. But we've seen in the past how Nick Nurse can get these teams into the playoffs, get them, a lot of wins in the regular season and compete pretty well in the playoffs, but ultimately not up to their seed usually. Since they've had Kawhi, because they don't have that guy, they don't have a closer on their team, and he's just really elevated the squad to a team that's like generating baskets and playing really well in the open court with just a kind of a collection of role players. But in the postseason, that becomes like a harder thing to do, if that makes sense. I'm going to take this into a 7-game series just because Toronto very easily could win this series, but Philly should. That's kind of what I'm going based off of right here. It's like Philly should win this series. If Doc Rivers has yet another collapse, it's just going to be ridiculous at this point. Yeah, so that's what I'm taking. All right, so let's go back over to the West, do the second round. I've got... I honestly can see this going either way, especially if Phoenix isn't totally healthy. I mean, they'll have Mikal Bridges, I guess, to guard Luka. Jay Crowder also can probably do a pretty good job. But we've seen Luka almost beat the Clippers twice. He was so close both times, and they had 2 of the most overqualified guys in the league to guard him. And they both match up size-wise better with Luka than Mikal Bridges would. And honestly, a little bit better than Jay Crowder would, but Jay Crowder would match up, pretty ideal as well as far as size goes. But we've also seen Mikal Bridges do, a really nice job defending bigger guys like LeBron and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm going to lean the Suns, but I think this one could go 6 or 7. I'm going to go 6. I might come back and change that if I feel like I haven't had a lot of 7s after this point, but something tells me I'll have enough. Yeah, so I'm going to take Phoenix out of this one. I don't love how I'm going chalk so far, basically everywhere. I want to differentiate somehow the seed from the number of games really quick. So now that I've done that, I'm going to take Denver in 6 games here. This very well could go either way, but I feel pretty confident just, watching the Nuggets all season long against Memphis, even with the squad as is, without Jamal and MPJ. But yeah, I'd still go with them. The only thing I'm a little worried about, is wear and tear on Jokic. I noticed last season in the playoffs, by the time he was in the second round, and really, during the first round as well, but I think we outmatched Portland enough to get by there. But in the second round against Phoenix, Jokic was just dead. He was so drained from carrying the team all season long. I mean, you could really tell it on just his shots, all of his shots, his touch around the rim, everything was just falling short. He shot terrible at the line for his standards, short rimming everything. He was just weak, to be quite honest. So I'm a little worried about that happening again, but I don't know. I just feel good. I feel good about it. I won't be surprised. should say this about all of this for the most part. Like most of these series, I wouldn't be surprised if either team won. That's how evenly matched I feel like this postseason is. But yeah, I'm going to go Denver out of the second round into conference finals to face Phoenix. All right, so over in the East, I'm going to take Miami out of this one in a, let's see, honestly, a 5 or 6. Like, I'm not going to go quite 5 because that feels too short, but this is a short 6 compared to these ones over here, I feel like. Again, this is another one I wouldn't be surprised if you told me Philly won. You know, Miami struggles with injuries, also struggles with being able to play consistently sometimes, to be honest. Like, Miami, I feel like, is a really big wild card a lot of years in the playoffs. Don't really know how they're going to play, but just going with my gut, taking Miami into the Eastern Conference Finals. And then Bucks versus Celtics. I'm going to take the Bucks, even though Robert Williams might be back at this point. But I'm gonna go 7 games with this one. This is gonna be a tight series, I feel like, and I could see either one coming out, just like I said, like 5 times already. So this is a good one. This is a rematch from round 1 last 2 seasons. Rematch from round 1 last season 2 seasons ago. They faced in the second round, and then this one, Phoenix Denver, is a rematch from the second round last season. And so I guess if I'm going, man, I don't want to just make it a rematch from last season. You know, that seems like a really boring pick, but that's where my gut is sending me. You know, You know what? Denver-Miami in a final series would be a really fun matchup because of the whole Jokic thing earlier in the season. Just, you know, body checking Markieff Morris. But I'm going to take Phoenix out of there, out of the West. They make the finals. I'm going to say they win in 6 against Denver. And I'm going to take Milwaukee out of the East. I did it even though I didn't want to. I think it's boring to just have a rematch from last year as my pick, but that's just what I feel when I look at the matchups. That's where my heart goes. Put their seed there. I'm going to put Sun seed up here. All right, and so in this rematch of Phoenix versus Milwaukee, man, this is just it's so unlikely, I feel like. Like for both these teams to stay healthy and make it all the way back to back, you know, into the finals. It's just not likely. But it's very hard for me to predict like health. You know, I never foresee what's going to happen to a team health-wise. Like things always do happen. Most of the time, things will happen. It's like kind of inevitable. But when I fill out things like this, I just completely block that out of my mind. Because it just adds a whole, you know, messy variable of like, how are you even supposed to guess it based off that at that point? Like Milwaukee, I feel like is a pretty not deep team. Phoenix is more deep. And also, I think they're just better than they were last year. They're a better team roster-wise. I think Booker's taken a step up. Ayton, I think, is at a similar level. Mikal Bridges, I think, is taking a step up. Cam Johnson has as well. I think Jay Crowder is still the same guy, and he's, you know, a wild card that can flip a series with his shooting. And their second unit is just going to be better now because they have JaVale McGee as the backup center instead of having nobody. Like they did last year. They brought back Torrey Craig. I'm pretty sure he's there now again. Am I wrong on that? No, I think he's there. Yeah, they got him from the Pacers mid-season. Yeah, I don't know. I like Phoenix. I think, you know, this might be the year that Chris Paul finally wins his championship. But that's a very risky thing to bet on because there's lots of seasons I feel like people have thought that. Something always seems to go wrong. But I'm just going to say that he's due. He's due for something to go right. So I'm going to have Phoenix winning this one in 7. All right, so this is my official pick for the 2022 NBA champions, the Phoenix Suns. Finals MVP, either Chris Paul or Devin Booker. For the narrative, it would be awesome if it's Chris Paul, but that's where my predictions stop, I guess. All right, don't feel good about this at all, not one bit, but this is my bracket. So yeah, thank you for watching, if you did. Obviously, if you are hearing this, you probably did, unless you skipped to the end. But regardless of how you got here, thank you for being here. Thanks for watching the video. I don't know if I'm going to have a podcast episode this week, to be quite honest, because I'm making this video. But so that just remains to be seen, I guess. So check out the podcast feed on Wednesday or Thursday. See if something's there. But yeah, thank you very much. Like, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. Would greatly appreciate it. But yeah, that is all.